All kids need is a little help, a little hope, and somebody who believes in them. Those are the words of Magic Johnson, the American retired professional basketball player. He struggled to read and write because he had dyslexia. He says that this early challenge spurred him on to work harder to be the best. In our program today, we continue to learn about dyslexia. From Transworld Radio, I am Robert Ucheng. In our first episode, we learned that dyslexia is a learning disorder that involves difficulty reading due to problems identifying speech sounds and learning how they relate to letters and words. Dyslexia affects areas of the brain that process language. Signs of dyslexia can be difficult to recognize before your child enters school, but some early clues may indicate a problem. Once your child reaches school age, your child's teacher may be the first to notice a problem, like in the case of Phyllis Karaoke, a mother whose child has dyslexia.
I learned he had a problem. When he went on to class 1 now, I think the problem became bigger. The more the reading, the bigger the problem. And I tried even employing extra tuition. I would do it myself. It reached a point I said, maybe it is because I'm the one teaching, I'm the mother. I involved the teacher. His main problem was anything written with a letter B. He always reversed, even when it is copying from one book to the other, or even from the blackboard. Instead of writing boy, he would write doy. Instead of writing bed, he would write dead.
Before school or at preschool, one may notice signs such as late talking, learning new words slowly, problems forming words correctly, such as reversing sounds in words or confusing words that sound alike, problems remembering or naming letters, numbers, and colors, and difficulty learning nursery rhymes or playing rhyme games. This, however, may not mean that a child is dyslexic, as Joseph Bango, an occupational therapist and special needs teacher in Nairobi, explains.
Let's say a child is class 1, which would be 7 years in the Kenyan school system. Mm-hmm. And they have a reading test. You have to read some words. How would you tell that this child is actually dyslexic?
From that angle, we will look at the accuracy of word recognition or letter recognition, the speed or the fluency at which the child is able to identify and read. So it is about the speed, the accuracy, that will be able to be gauged up on the age, the developmental age of the child against what is able to achieve. So it is possible to compare one child against other children of the same category in the same classroom setting and see the gap between how they read differently. So the one with dyslexia will have challenges recognizing sounds, reading fluently and accurately will be of a problem as opposed to other peers who do not have dyslexia.
Once your child is in school, dyslexia signs and symptoms may become more apparent, including reading well below the expected level for age, problems processing and understanding what he or she hears, difficulty finding the right word or forming answers to questions, problems remembering the sequence of things, inability to sound out the pronunciation of an unfamiliar word, difficulty spelling, spending an unusually long time completing tasks that involve reading or writing, and avoiding activities that involve reading, just as Felix experienced.
I pushed him. Everybody at home was like, why are you not able to read? Why can't you be like so and so? He hated anything to do with reading. I remember in pre-unit, when now the reading started, he started developing attitudes towards school. He's very good at home, but when it comes to school, he hated it. In fact, he did one day. I remember he woke up and said, "Mom, I'm having stomachache. I don't want to go to school." He actually cried very hard, pretending the way he's almost dying. And I told him, "You know what, Baba? You actually don't have to go to school. Stay." He forgot that he was almost dying because of illness, and he changed. I didn't know why he had developed a bad attitude towards school.
When dyslexia goes undiagnosed and untreated, childhood reading difficulties continue into adulthood, and the child may end up with low self-esteem, behavior problems, anxiety, aggression, and withdrawal from friends, parents, and teachers. These can prevent a child from reaching his or her potential as the child grows up. And this can have long-term educational, social, and economic consequences. When Phyllis realized that her son Felix had dyslexia, she was determined to help him through this condition. Unfortunately, 20 years ago, little was being done about dyslexia in Kenya. Children with this condition were labeled slow and will face stigma from their peers, teachers, and family. Most of the time, they will end up abandoning their studies and end up getting into drugs, alcohol, or even crime due to frustration. Her knowledge in dyslexia and her need to help her son and other children led Phyllis and her sister to start a school to help children with dyslexia.
My son was now progressing, was almost finishing class 8, and I was like, I have all these courses I've done, I have all this knowledge. What do I do with this information? How do I share it with people? I was looking for a platform to being an advocate for these people, to create awareness to others in a bigger platform. So that's how we started the Dyslexia organization. I went to the local station and it was like the idea of a school now came in. Because parents were like, okay, yes, you have told me about this problem. Where do I take my child? My sister, who is a twin with me and also has a child with dyslexia, we realized we needed to do a school, and that's how school was started.
There's no known way to correct an underlying brain abnormality that causes dyslexia. It is a lifelong problem. However, early detection and evaluation to determine specific needs and appropriate treatment can improve a child's ability to read and write. Joseph Bango, an occupational therapist in Kenya, explains the kind of therapy a child with dyslexia goes through.
Key things that are of value here is early identification of a child with dyslexia. Once the early identification has been done, then early intervention. Then the consistency with the programs or services that are being offered. But now to be specific on what are the intervention strategies here, there is a team of multidisciplinary members who work with a child with dyslexia. One of them are the special needs teachers who actually develop what we call IEP, Individualized Education Plan, that aim at the specific challenges the child is facing. The reading will be structured, and actually there will be some collateral training of reading and writing simultaneously. Sound recognition will be done in a manner that is stimulating to the child to improve the memory of the child. Writing skills, spelling, pronunciation will be done by the special needs teacher who has a mastery of skills and knowledge on how a child learns differently. Basically, in my view, the child with dyslexia learns like any other child, only that he learns differently. The teaching approaches must be adjusted to meet the child's needs. Aside from the special needs teachers, we can also have other personnel of the team members, one of them being the occupational therapist. Because normally a child with dyslexia has got low self-esteem. The confidence level is low because he compares himself with other peers who actually are ahead of him. So to address this, in as much as the special needs teacher is working on other skills, the self-confidence needs to be boosted up, the self-esteem, and of course offering social support, behavior management, because most of the time a child with dyslexia will avoid reading because he knows that he's challenged in that area. So it requires some behavior modification techniques here. Concentration span needs to be improved because alongside reading difficulty, the child with dyslexia will have challenges with writing. So an occupational therapist will come and train fine motor skills using multisensory approaches. So the child has got some skills on holding a pen and relating whatever is writing with whatever is sounding, so that it is a combined effort. Parental education, another key important thing, because the parents need to be informed on what is the possible cause, what is the way forward. Is this child able to learn normally? So when you offer psychological support to the family and this society as at large for understanding purposes, then that forms the basis of it. You can also rope in some other personnel like the neuropsychologist or just an educational psychologist who will be able to work with the team members on advising on the best and the modern methods of teaching and learning that the child can be able to go through.
Besides therapy, Phyllis insists that parents and teachers play the biggest role in empowering a child who has dyslexia so that they can stand for themselves against stigma and discrimination.
He started advocating for himself, which again is very important for any person. If people would ask him, why are you spelling differently? Why can't you spell such a simple word? He would just drop the word, I have dyslexia. And then you are left to wonder, what is this? Even children in class, they all knew that he has dyslexia. They stopped making fun of him. They started now helping him. Teachers knew that you don't mark spelling in a science subject. You do not mark spelling in a math subject. You mark the answer. Give him the power to advocate for themselves. Because as a parent and even as a guardian, you won't be there for him all the time.
The good news is that now there is a lot of information for parents and teachers about dyslexia. The Kenyan government also has taken steps to help children with dyslexia and other learning disabilities succeed in reading and writing. There are assessment centers in every county in Kenya, and children with learning disabilities can then be referred to schools within the county that offer inclusive education where they can be given personalized attention. Teacher training schools and institutions of higher learning are also now offering special needs education to people who deal with children with special needs, and with the newly introduced education curriculum, emphasis is now on a child's ability and speciality as opposed to the old system of education that was purely academic. With these improvements, parents like Phyllis can encourage children to succeed, but she still insists that parents have a bigger role to play in the success of their children who have dyslexia.
A parent is the first advocate for her child. I tell every parent, learn how to handle this problem. You are the best person to help your child. The world moves very fast. It is your responsibility to pick it from there. If your child is, as they call them, the slow learners, don't take them to a fast-paced school. Learn to advocate for your child. Comparison with either family, other children in the school, or even your relatives kills children with dyslexia or anyone with a learning difficulty. It is very, very bad.
Academic problems don't necessarily mean a person with dyslexia can't succeed. Capable students with dyslexia can be highly successful given the right resources. Many people with dyslexia are creative and bright and have gone on to be the best in their field. Notable personalities with dyslexia include Steven Spielberg, the famous film director, the late Muhammad Ali, the world heavyweight champion boxer, and Magic Johnson, the successful retired professional basketball player, among others. Remember, the solution is in early assessment and therapy.